Hello and welcome to No Take Back CEDH. I am your host, JD, the Mullet Maestro, and I will be narrating tonight's session. In this video, we are going to be using commanders from the recent set Commander Legends. Todd is using Kwain, Itinerant Meddler. Bowery is playing Silas Renn, Seeker Adept, partnered with Rograkh, son of Rograkh. Alan is playing Kydel, Chosen of Crewfix, partnered with Rograkh, son of Rograkh. And Nick Dracos is playing Dargo, the Shipwrecked, partnered with Tormod, the Desecrated. After the dice roll, Todd, with the highest number, goes first. Todd plays a Misty Rainforest, pays 1 life, sacks it, and goes to get a Hallowed Fountain, puts it into play untapped, taking 2 life. He then taps it for 1 blue to cast Mystic Remora, and passes turn. Nick plays an Ancient Tomb, taps it, takes 2 damage, and adds 2 colorless mana. He then plays a Fellwar Stone. Todd draws off of the trigger from his Mystic Remora, and then Nick passes turn. Alan shocks in a Stomping Ground, paying 2 life, taps it for a green mana, and casts Birds of Paradise. He then casts Mana Crypt, taps it for 2, and then casts Talisman of Creativity, taps it for 1 colorless to cast Mana Vault. Todd draws 2 cards off of Alan from his Mystic Remora, and then Alan passes turn. Bowery shocks in a Steam Vents, paying 2 life, taps it for a blue mana, and casts his own Mystic Remora. Todd draws off of his Mystic Remora, and then Bowery passes turn. Todd pays 1 mana on his upkeep in order to keep his Mystic Remora. He then plays a Scalding Tarn, pays 1 life, sacks it, and goes and gets an island. Todd taps his Misplayed Plains for a white mana and casts Deafening Silence. This triggers Bowery to draw a card off his Mystic Remora. Todd then moves to discard a Prismatic Vista to hand size and passes turn. Nick plays a Homeward Path, taps his Ancient Tomb for 2 colorless mana, taking 2 damage, to cast Grim Monolith. This causes Todd and Bowery to both draw off their Mystic Remoras, and then he passes turn. Alan untaps, rolls his die for his Mana Crypt trigger on his upkeep, and loses 3 life. Alan taps his Stomping Grounds, Birds of Paradise, and Mana Crypt to cast Kydel, Chosen of Crewfix, and then passes turn. Bowery untaps and pays his upkeep trigger on Mystic Remora. He plays a Flooded Strand, pays 1 life, sacks it, and gets an Underground Sea. After shuffling for what seems like an eternity, he taps his Underground Sea to cast the Soul Ring and triggers Todd to draw off of Mystic Remora. He then passes turn. Todd untaps and lets his Mystic Remora go to the graveyard and plays Hall of Heliod's Generosity. Todd then taps for a blue and 2 for Arcane Laboratory. This triggers Bowery to draw again off of his Mystic Remora, and then he lets the spell resolve. Todd moves to instep, and then Nick casts Plunge into Darkness, paying 10 life, and looks at the top 10 cards of his library. Allows Bowery to draw off Mystic Remora, and puts Chromox, Underworld Breach, Dark Deal, Might's Whisper, Buried Ruin, Red Elemental Blast, Crystal Vein, Magmatic Insight, and Goblin Matron into exile, and then Todd ends his turn. Dracos untaps, plays Polluted Delta, lays down Harsh Mentor, taps Fellwar Stone, fetches, taking 1 damage, and puts a Swamp into play to pay 4 Harsh Mentor, and then passes turn. Alan untaps and rolls for his Mana Crypt trigger during his upkeep, and takes 3 damage. He taps Mana Crypt and Talisman of Creativity, taking 1 damage, and casts Windfall. Everyone discards their hand. The highest number of cards in hand was 10, so the players draw that many. Alan then plays a mountain. He discards a Scalding Tarn and passes turn. Bowery untaps, taps Soul Ring for cumulative upkeep. He plays an Exotic Orchard, taps 2 and casts Grim Monolith. He then moves to discard putting a Morphic Pool into his graveyard, and then passing turn. Todd plays Mystic Gate, then casts Teferi Time Raveler. Bowery draws off of Mystic Remora, and then casts a Hull Breacher. Todd activates Teferi's +1 ability, granting him flash on all of his sorcery spells until his next turn, and then passes. Dracos plays a Wooded Foothills, attacks Teferi for 2 damage, then he pays 1 life, sacks Wooded Foothills, and gets a Mountain. He then taps 8 mana for Dargo the Shipwrecked, and passes turn. Alan rolls for Mana Crypt on his upkeep, and takes no damage. Plays an island. Taps for 1 and 2 blue to transmute a Muddle the Mixture, putting a Cyclonic Rift into hand. Alan then taps 7 mana, taking 1 damage off Talisman to overload a Cyclonic Rift. And then he passes turn. Bowery plays a Phyrexian Tower, casts a Mox Amber. He then casts Rograkh, son of Raga, taps Mox Amber and Phyrexian Tower, sacking Rograkh to Phyrexian Tower. Floating 3 mana, he then casts Cabal Ritual, getting 5 black mana total floating, and 1 blue left from the Mox Amber. He uses 2 black and 1 blue mana to cast Mnemonic Betrayal, and Alan casts Pact of Negation to counter it. He then casts a Soul Ring. 1 black and 1 colorless are left floating after tapping the Soul Ring. Bowery casts a Demonic Tutor. He then exiles Simian Spirit Guide and casts Ride of the Flame. Bowery now has 1 black, 1 colorless, and 2 red floating mana. He goes down to 1 black and 1 red to cast Grim Monolith. He taps Grim Monolith for 3 mana, uses 2 of it, and 1 of his black floating in order to cast Yawgmoth's Will. Bowery then recasts Cabal Ritual from his yard. He pays 2 life to cast Gitaxian Probe and looks at Todd's hand. Bowery replays Mnemonic Betrayal from his yard because of Yawgmoth's Will, and he goes down to 2 black floating mana to cast Demonic Tutor from his graveyard as well. He tutors up Demonic Consultation. He casts Thassa's Oracle from Todd's graveyard because of Mnemonic Betrayal, and responds to the ETB with Demonic Consultation and wins the game by drawing his deck and the trigger off of Thassa's Oracle stating that he won the game. So the misplay in the game, where Todd got the wrong land and was able to cast Deafening Silence, it affected the game, but from what I could tell, Alan and Bowery were ready to go off pretty early on. It seemed to have delayed it a turn, but in the grand scheme of things, all it did was slow down the win. Thank you so much for watching No Take Back CEDH. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more videos, and support your local gaming store. Mullet Maestro out.
So that's game 1, eh?
Game 1's done.